So it's been 8 days since I attempted to raise the engine inside my E30 to close the bonnet to gain some space for the steering shaft, and I've admitted defeat and asked for some outside advice, and the people that made the radiator conversion kit and the sum conversion kit replied to my request saying if you want to use a purple tag steering rack, you either have to get your steering rack subframe rolled over, or a left-hand sided bell housing adapter kit to relocate the starter motor to the left-hand side of the car. So rather than try and find a fabricator to do the things that I need to do and do a bit of trial and error until it works, I've just pulled the trigger on the bell housing conversion kit from Castlemaine Rod Shop down in Victoria, and once it arrives I'll be able to get stuck into putting this engine back in for the 4th time. Look what's arrived today from Castlemaine Rod Shop. It's my left-hand starter motor belt housing conversion kit to suit LS and T56 transmission. Now these kits have been made because early model Commodores have a steering shaft much the same as the BMW, which interferes with the stock right-hand starter motor location. So this kit should solve that problem for me in this car, and hopefully I'll have a steering shaft and a starter motor that functions, so I can move to the next phase of this project, which is getting everything wired up and starting, which would be awesome. Information guidelines for areas that may need linishing, which was covered in their how-to video on YouTube. Here is the manifold, or here's the instruction manual and all of the small parts. And in there is the starter motor. Hopefully this works. There is the bell housing adapter plate. Boy, I hope all of this makes sense. Looks pretty good. Step 1, extract old thrust bearing. Now this was a pain in the ass. I ripped the guts out of it, then I had to drill the outside of the shell to get it to contract just a little bit so I could drag it out. I had to modify my pulling tool to get the teeth to hold on more thoroughly, but I got it out. So time to start fabbing everything up, so to see if this kit works. Seeing as how this kit pushes the gearbox 8mm further back from the flywheel, I've been supplied with this much thicker bush to compensate for the extra depth over and above the usual spigot bearing. Step 2, add 8mm spacer to the throwout bearing. Step 3, install longer dowels into the engine block. Step 4, mark the cutout for the ring gear. Left-hand starter motor bell housing adapter. Time to bolt the starter motor in and see if it all lines up, but first I need to clearance the engine block. Starter motor bolted in, and as you can see here by my test piece of cardboard, there is clearance right down the side of the starter motor. There's literally a millimeter in it, but there is definitely a gap there now where once there was none. Took a lot of grinding, but we got there in the end. And using the magic of cinema and a hole saw, the relief is cut out of the Tremec gearbox to accommodate the pinion of the starter motor as it sits on the left side of the LS. Exciting times. And with that, we're most of the way there. Just got a few of those bellows and bolts to snick up, and the engine and box will be together with the adapter plate and the starter motor in place. And it's freaking hot in here, so I'm going to take a smoker break. Before I get carried away putting this engine and gearbox in the car, I need to make sure that the starter motor actually works. Good enough for me. Probably be a good idea to get the slimline steering shaft into the engine bay before the motor goes back in. Now that my clearance issues should theoretically be solved, I'll just bang it in now. And just like that, it's in. So this is it, engine installation number 4. Hopefully this is the last engine installation. It's the next day, and off camera last night I put this engine back into the car. It went quite smoothly. That's 4th time installing it, and everything works. Steering clearance is good, starter motor clearance is good, bell housing clearance, gearbox clearance, everything clears. Nothing's touching where it shouldn't be. The mounts are doing their job. So I'm very pleased with that. That means we're moving forward. So all I have to do now is button up all the other bits and bobs that I've already done the fit out for, and it'll be time to drag the car to L's to get L to do the fuel, the wiring and the brake lines. The car is still in the garage because I have a new problem to deal with. It revolves around the oil filter remote relocation kit, and I will show you what I mean momentarily.